Well, welcome to the Landscaping Podcast. My name is Joel Barnett and I'm your host. And in today's episode, I'm talking with Shaun Laurie from Laurie Landscapes. So Shaun runs a design construction company based in Melbourne, and he's got about, I think it was 10 staff he's got on at the moment and doing some really nice work. And it was interesting to hear who he was working for when he was an employee and how that style has carried through to the work he's doing now, which makes sense. But there was two different styles that he was working for, and you can see that blended in with the work he's doing now, which works really nicely. And I was blown away to hear how successful the business is at such a young age. He's been going like 5 years for himself, and I think he's only 26, about to turn 27, which blows me away how you can be doing it at that age for that long. So I was quite impressed by that. And it was also great to hear how he's not only looking after his own mental health, but looking to do it for his staff as well. So it's an important thing for him in his business. So it was good to hear that he's doing that. So hopefully you enjoy this chat with Shaun Laurie. Shaun, thank you very much for joining us on the Landscaping Podcast. So my first question for you is, how did you start in the industry?
I think I probably started feeling around it I was involved in a lot of stuff around home with my dad, who's been in many different construction industries, which basically led me to about 11 years ago, getting some work experience and getting cracking on with an apprenticeship very early, convincing the parents to let me leave school. There was a lot of back and forwarding, dad supporting it, mum not. In the end, I left. So that sort of placed me in year 10, sort of halfway through year 10, and got me, started.
So where did you have a job that you were looking to get? Was it landscaping you wanted to get into, or did you just look for any apprenticeship that was available?
It was really just the work experience, school thing, Hey, go try everything. And I think a few sort of family friends pushed on some advice saying, try everything. I guess I did somewhat, not just all through work experience, but then I was kind of like, oh, well, landscape was pretty solid in my heart, I guess, just seeing sort of maybe as a stage of mum and dad's renos, I guess, they were doing throughout their sort of house, and I was liking the outside stuff and maybe timing, but sort of did a little bit with a few uncles in different trades, and then tried, a few different things with builder mates of dad's again and different things, and learned that, plastering sort of wasn't my thing pretty quickly. Plumbing wasn't. And building was just a little bit too much going on. I just like to be a bit hands on the ground. So, and the crew that I started with was really awesome. The team of them sort of got under the wing of one of the sort of foremans there pretty quickly, which is awesome. Sort of looked up to me, I think, a fair bit. So there's a bit of an incentive, and sort of just stayed in love with it ever since, really. So
whereabouts did you get your apprenticeship with to start with?
With Beasley Landscape Construction out in Warrandyte. So started with Chris out there. He was a great boss. He really detailed. He's not sort of probably commonly known on media stuff that much. Keeps a bit to himself, but he was really, really hands-on with a lot of stonemasonry, a lot of more of the construction stuff for myself. And he had a great crew of 6 guys, and still learned off them early. So from that mid-year 9, really, which is probably more 12 years ago, but then started solid full-time work with it late sort of year 10. So,
All right. So was it with school, was it like, were you struggling with it, or you just hated being there?
Oh, I don't know, to be honest. I hope not too many school teachers are listening, but I think one moment that clicked with me one day in a maths class. I love my maths. I like to think I'm semi-good at it, definitely running a business. I think I've heard you talk about yourself, Joel. I think it's a really good attribute to have for your own business. Love crunching numbers no matter what it is, whether it's how many plants I'm going to get away with or need, or whatever I'm going to do all for the job, or it's crunching numbers and figures for banking stuff. I loved it. And a few maths classes we started to go into, there's just different, theories and things we're talking about, where I was just like, why are we doing this equation? Like, why are we doing this? And the teacher just couldn't answer me. I said, is there a science? Like, I really want to know, because I want to know what job I could apply this to. And it was just like, oh, you're just learning it. And I was like, a good maths teacher, I'm not going to discredit them and use names or something, but I just went, that's just not what I want. I want to have a passion behind something, and I wasn't really the best with English. If anyone follows my social media, they'll learn that pretty quickly, and I get built on that a bit. I think I just learned that I wasn't putting my passion and my time into anything. And again, I was really outside every weekend with dad, like flat out, loving being outside, building stuff. And I've got, my parents to thank for that a lot. Sort of seeing that now, to be honest, I've got 2 school-based apprentices, give them an opportunity. One of them's already sort of talking about leaving early, which I've sort of said, I don't want to encourage you too much, because you've got to make your own decision. But his parents are already seeing him, the school's created a great program to give to them to let them leave. And I think that's what made me think about it. Sat down with my principal at the time. Mum thought he was going to convince me to stay. And he said, Shaun, if you want to be a rocket scientist in the future, you can go back and do night school. So go for it. And that was probably, that final straw. And
yeah, that's awesome. It's good that you knew had an idea of what you wanted to do as well. Because some people want to leave school because they hate school. Like I hated school with a passion, but thought it would be a good thing to finish it because I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I kept doing it. But yeah, having an idea on what you wanted to do and like doing all those work experience thing is a great idea. So then you can trial it, and then it's not like you just stopped school because you hated it and then going to whatever job came up. And also, I hear what you're saying with the maths too, because like I remember, like never thought we'd use a squared plus b squared equals c squared. But that's how we work out the a right angle. But
exactly.
But apart from that, I remember him saying, like, because you'd use your calculator for something, and then the teachers would say, "You're not going to have a calculator with you all the time, are you?" But turns out we have got a phone. So
we have got them, yeah. Which I think some of that advice maybe has been good. I've noticed, definitely some of the younger generation, the phones are a bit reliant, as you probably would agree, Joel. But I was very lucky, right? I was super lucky. I had that passion. And I think then it led to so many family friends and aunties and uncles and things that would be like really etching in on me. Well, how did you figure it out, Shaun? And, I'd always say, well, I tried a bunch, but the honest truth is I had a lot of everything around the home with my old man and stuff, which again, I'm so lucky for to figure that out early. Because I know guys that have gone out, finished their year 12 and done, well, I want to be sparky, it's good pay, and done the 4 years and gone, actually, no, I have no passion behind this. And it's a shame they didn't get to try anything or get that advice. So again, any apprentice I come to now, as much as I really want to invest in them being in the company for now, for a long time, and now, I say if at any time I try something, you're welcome to go and do it with trades that we use just to confirm whether you want to be, because you want to be happy in life, as you know, Joel, works so much of our lives. And I think we're very lucky in this industry and would find it hard how not many people could be happy, but maybe on days like today with the rain, you would be happy. So, yeah.
And also, more luck is the guy that you're working for as well. Like, first of all, giving an opportunity to a kid that young, and then also just the type of work that he was doing, because you could have gone with a guy who just did soft landscaping or
100%. I was lucky, falling into that too. And I know a lot of guys that have ended up, with maybe no good guidance. And they've ended up, behind a first year as their supervisor, and they're only just fresh as first year. So, a bunch of things falling into place, super lucky for. And again, Chris and I had like a great, early days of our apprenticeship. I really did learn so much off him that I followed on through, lucky to. And then sort of later into that, I had, another company, Nature's Best Landscape, Aaron, who's sort of a mentor of mine now. Again, just can't thank them enough. Really good mentors to sort of start me off. So,
Was that Nature's Best, you said?
Yeah, Aaron, as I call him, but Aaron Green,
they're doing some amazing stuff.
Awesome stuff. So lucky as and I I did about a year and a half, or about a year actually, work with him. So towards the end of my apprenticeship, and a bit of full time, and he's today I was meeting up with him. We catch up a lot, speak a lot, whinge about the weather a lot, all those sorts of things, and very close. So that's a massive, massive bonus, and I think that's what I try and sort of push to my guys is have those relationships, because some of those relationships I've held on to from early days have been everything for me now. So it's great building up contacts like that. Isn't it? Yeah.
So did you not finish your apprenticeship with Chris and then finish it with Nathan?
No, I didn't. Sadly, he had some injury stuff happen, and bluntly honest, we went from 6 down to last man standing me. So sort of hung in there for as long as I could, and it didn't quite work out. It was a shame, because it was a really, really good business, like I said, in what he did in work and local. I was a bit lost. Like I think some apprentices can be in that part. I was sort of feeling, felt like a bit of a shame that I couldn't finish it with him. Chris, I did 3 years with them, and then Nature's Best did that last sort of year, and realistically a bit. That was good. Wouldn't recommend it to everyone, because I obviously want to hold on to staff for a while. I think I actually gained a lot from that, doing a bit of a different team thing. So the way I try and probably maybe replicate that now in my own business is by not just setting up an apprentice with one foreman for 4 years. Honest truth is maybe that foreman might not even be there for 4 years. Hope to hang on to staff for a while. But actually give them a bit of variety, so they're learning different ways to sort of skin the cat, as you know. So that was a massive learning curve for me. I'm super thankful for that and how it worked out. And just gaining we sort of did a lot of stuff for like the Warrandyte area with Chris and things, a bit more natural stuff. But then with Aaron, it was just a lot more so Surrey Hills, Toorak, Camwell Bay. So it's cool to learn for neat landscaping sort of work. And I got to go on an amazing project of his, which was a big project in Yering that went for about 3.5 years on that for about sort of 6 to 9 months, which was an amazing, huge job. So pretty cool to see some large scale, high end stuff as well. So
yeah, it's funny you say that, those two different styles, because when I look at your projects, you can see that blend in there.
It's funny. I realize it sometimes too. One of my main foremans now, Jordan, used to work with a cool company, Fine Garden Company, and he said that recently. He said, it's like I'm back, I've got that sort of sleek. That's a lot of the work they did, like a recent job we did in Camwell. And I guess it makes it a bit hard sometimes in management to sort of blend that in, sort of say, oh, now we're out of that natural sort of sweep that round, whatever sort of feel, back into the square sort of feel. But I like that because it gives everyone variety again. And I think that's something I rave about a lot with my apprentices. Thank your lucky stars that you're in a job where you're not doing continuous of the same, but also wake up because you've got a lot to learn in a short amount of time. 4 years is very short considering how much our industry does, as you know, and how hands-on our business is. I don't get too many contractors involved really. I'd have a short list, I reckon, of 10 to 20 individuals, maybe totaling over across that board. There'd be 5 to 6 businesses in that 10 to 20. So I don't have a heap that we use regularly. I mean, you've got your plumbers, sparkies, things like that. Good couple of chippy mates every now and then, but I like to do a lot of the stuff still that we can hands-on so they all learn. So, yeah.
The carpentry stuff is one of the most enjoyable things, I reckon, because it's easy.
I agree. Yeah, and I've sort of done a lot of it over time, but didn't really have a few foremans that were fully around it, I guess. They were a bit more on the masonry side of their sort of previous careers. And then we've had a new guy come on and he's had a lot of that. And I sort of had a lot of it in my early background. It's been really cool. A lot of our jobs, I've seen recently, we've got a lot of that back in and it sort of completes the project, I think, doesn't it? Any good job has a nice decking or pergola and it gets a bit of variety. Sometimes you look in how many tools we carry in our work utes and you think, oh God, got more than a chippy trailer and a work ute. But yeah, I love doing the variety, and same with our earth moving. That was a bit of the basis of our company, considering my old man sort of started out as that, or not started, I should say. He's done that for the past 20 years. Yeah, we've got a lot of that happening, which sort of leads us into our bigger landscapes too, which I love having on site.
Yeah, and it's like when you say like how there's a lot to learn in 4 years. It's so crazy to think that like it's a 4-year apprenticeship for landscaping and also for bricklaying.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, you either feel sorry for the landscape that's got too much to learn, or the poor bricklayer that's doing the same thing for 4 years.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I couldn't agree more, Joel. It is a lot, and I think that's what sometimes I, every now and then, maybe find a struggle. More and more, we're in a really great sort of demographic and feel of clientele that really are passionate about what we do now. It's awesome to sort of hear people reach out and sort of start the phone call off with, oh, we've been watching what you've done, or a client recently in South Warrandyte said, oh, I've been watching you for a few years, Shaun, and on socials and things, and we were planning on sort of contacting you a few years, but now the old pool fence dilemma that everyone's facing at the moment with the recertification means we want to fast track that. But the fact that she sort of like watched and loved what we've done is really cool to sort of get that feel of,
People say that they don't have time to do the social media stuff, but they spend money on other marketing. But that's exactly what it is, because you're advertising your business. So by the time someone has been watching you for a couple of years, you've basically won the job before you've quoted it.
Exactly. Yeah, 100%. I think I'm finding that so much now, which sometimes is obviously, especially the materials and stuff, it's getting people across the budget of what things cost. But I guess probably what I was veered off from just before in that previous comment was, I think it's educating people how much is in a landscape project, and how many trades we have and how many materials we have. It's not the out of the back of the ute, as I was saying before, out the back of the ute. We've got lots of trucks and things we run to sort of go against that. But it isn't really just the out the back of the ute, level shovel and a wheelbarrow and a paving mallet and a trowel anymore, is it, Joel? It's a lot of detail, and people want more and more, Blows me away even just sort of the detail period of my business probably started around about 4 years ago on the really high detail jobs, starting from even back then, people would sort of add 6 to 10 lights for a feature project. And now we're putting in, you know, upwards of 30 to 40 lights, and each individual one's a selected color and shape, and everything's going to be really like the inside of a house fit out, isn't it? And so much detail. So yeah, educating clients to do that is probably one of my biggest struggles in showing how it is, apart from one of my big successes is taking them past previous jobs and just pointing out little things. And I usually, one of my favorite tricks for that is to just say, hey, here's what we started, an iPad in front of them, and they look at, wow, it's so much change. But still, in doing that, still educating them how many things go in. Like a builder. We are the builders, aren't we? So
exactly.
Yeah.
And it's over a bigger area as well.
Yep.
And
Sure.
I assume you're the same, but the amount of times I hear clients after we've started and we've been working saying, I can see why it costs so much now, because the amount of work that you've got to do.
So true. Yeah. Or like even just the earth moving stage. I can see why there's so much money in the earth moving stage, because it's just machines going everywhere and removing things out. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. It's a good feeling when some people say that. Every now and then, as you know, you get the old person who goes, this was quite expensive for this. It's like, yeah, well, that's because half that price was just a small bunch of pavers that got delivered in a pallet. That's just part of it, you know? So, yeah, I think more people are getting educated with it now too. I think, I don't know, obviously our industry's boomed so much through COVID, but I really do think a lot of people are coming with a more open-minded budget, because maybe people talking more about it on what actually can go into a big area. You know, even just the starting point sometimes of me involving a pool builder, you know, sometimes people used to sort of fall over it thinking, oh my God, $60,000 for a pool. It's like, yeah, that was like years ago. Now they're all like, oh yeah, we know it's 100,000 and above. And it's like, well, that's good. People are understanding what things cost, rather than, again, educating all that through to them, or teaching them, I guess, you know, so that they understand what's going to be involved in the job, like you said. So
yeah, I reckon designers help with that as well. Like when because they're usually the first person who meets the client, and they'll tell them how expensive things are, because there's no point them wasting their time doing an awesome design that they can't afford. Steve Taylor does that really well. Like he'll go out and do a consultation, and it'll say, you know, your pool's going to cost 120 grand, and whatever the pool costs, the landscaping's double. So,
that's great. Yeah. Lucky enough to I do a lot of our own designs, which is cool. I get to build that relationship. I think early days, probably when I got thrown off, you know, younger days of business, and it's still early days in some ways for me, but I got thrown maybe just a few random leads from random designers. And maybe they were the ones that they didn't really know if the people had money enough. I sort of got a bit of frustration through some non-professional designers, I might say, that don't do that. But then, yeah, people like Steve Taylor, a great designer. I've done some work with Georgina Martin. She's sort of been out of the industry for about 10 years, but she's sort of in the Paul Bangay sort of era. She does that all the time, talking through budgets, and she'll involve me as soon as she's consulting with a client, which is fantastic. And that's what I do when I do our own designs from day dot, because there's nothing worse than getting that piece of paper is there and going, well, the paper looks good, but the budget's half of it. So now I'm redesigning the design to suit you. So I think that's great when they've got people like Steve Taylor. And I've got a good mate of mine, Hazelwood Engineering, that works a lot closely with Steve, and Josh raves about how involved Steve is with every process, even engaging with the steel guy. You know, it's sort of not Steve's responsibility, but he makes sure it gets done properly and budgeted properly. So I think that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, I reckon that's partially because of his construction background as well. So
yeah,
that helps.
Josh did tell me he had that, which is great. Exactly. So
so after you left Nature's Best, what did you start your business then?
Yeah, so I was lucky enough, another parent project. Mum and Dad built a mammoth deck at their house, which was awesome. We had about 1.5 kilometres of decking board that went into it around this pool house. We'll never forget it. Yeah, still get to enjoy it every now and then. Now I'm visiting their house. That was a talking topic of going out and doing that, and then just had 2 clients that had reached out, sort of gone from, I guess you'd say, the cashy days on the weekends to those sort of people letting me on to other people. And again, Mum and Dad passing my name around, very lucky to have them. They passed around to a 6-month awesome job in Eltham for, an architect who runs 120 people. And he sort of said, oh, can you show me some of the detail you've done and whatnot? And to be honest, I was, shitting bricks, thinking this guy knows detail. And he had a very, 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 very detailed home. Him and then his wife, Mel, interior designer. So very, very caring. But got to nail their job, which I was super stoked with, and it was a great start as monks doing Mum and Dad's deck with a subcontracting mate. I don't know, it feels like a lot of mates that go out there and eventually sort of start with another mate almost, doesn't it, in some ways sometimes. Yeah, me and Darcy sort of started rolling that ball off, and then it just led on. Word of mouth was a big thing. That was sort of, let me think, that was realistically sort of 6 to 7 years ago. Early days, I traded under my old man's business name. So I ran a bit of earth moving as well that he was sort of phasing out of. So it was good to keep me going in the meantime. I was very lucky to have that. Did the odd sort of subbing to different mates here and there, different concreters and things to keep those quiet times busy. And then, just started to build, the work started to build to the point that I think Dad was like, hang on a minute, you need to open your own business. This is a bit too much liability on me. And that was when I opened Laurie Landscapes just over 5 years ago. So, yeah.
How old are you now?
I'm 26, turning 27 in a month, Joel. So,
jeez, that's insane.
Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes I think I'm probably going to get grey hair 10 years earlier than everyone else, but I love it. I think I've been lucky, like I said, to fall into a lot of it early and just have some awesome mentors, like, again, driven family friends, sort of being around a lot of business owners and things like that are passionate about what they do and things. And then, like, I reckon early I sort of was lucky enough to, you think back sort of 5 years ago, like I said, I was 21. I was driving to people's houses to price jobs with green P plates on. And I'm thinking, oh my God, how's the judgment going to come here? But by 22, I'd bought my first truck. I just worked so much, so many weekends. I loved earthing. I still do, being around my old man with it all my life. And I remember thinking, I'm going to be in this brand new truck and I've still got green P plates on, But I was rolling up and people were accepting it. They were seeing me back up my word and stuff, I guess. And it sort of just flowed on from there. And all of a sudden, maybe growing this beard helped a little bit. And then sometimes I think we do get a few weeks or a month into a job and some people look at me and say, so how old are you, Shaun? And I'm like, do you want to know? But I've put in every bit of effort. And I love what that age of me starting then meant. I had, I think, similar age group around me, which meant I got to build some great friendships through Foremans, and a couple have moved on and started their own thing, which one's Charlie from Charlton Landscapes. Another one recently is Tom, who's just left. He's starting his business, Hurley Landscapes, and just some awesome friendships that are sort of like really built it as their own almost because we were a similar age. I think it was cool. So,
yeah, that is awesome. So when did you put your first employee on?
I put my first employee on, Day Dot, young apprentice. He got about 3 years in and he started working with his dad in the end. They had some sort of contract stuff he wanted to move on to in the drilling industry. So it was a shame, but it was great feeling to be able to employ someone. Also a bit intimidating. I went from have a big passion in just dirt bikes and things, and did some sort of time up in Alice Springs doing some races that I love up there with some good mates and things, one called Fink, and went from sort of fully committing to it from about 18 through to, like I said, about that 21. And then I think I was 22, had the young apprentice on and went, oh, I've got someone else's mouth to be responsible for now too. And that changed that. As you know, business takes over from some of the hobbies. But that was my first employee. So, and then a year after that, my first foreman, and then sort of flowed on from there. So, yeah. And
I saw on your website in the About Us section, it said you've done a bit of international traveling. When have you had time for that?
Well, I, stupidly or not, met a girl through, I actually managed really lucky there, Joel. About a year and a half in, most people are going to follow when they hear this, I had my old man come to me and say, I want to travel Australia. And I said, Dad, I've just started a business. And he said, you're never going to do it with me, mate, if you don't do it now. And I think I took that away. I went, shit, he's probably right. So I was lucky that I just had some great clients. I finished some jobs up and sort of said, oh, look, I'll be back in August for the next stages. Ended up back in November, I'll be honest. Finished about half of them, but they were all just super keen on hearing about my trip more than some of their jobs. It's great understanding clients like I did back then and still now, but more or less it's a smaller gig, so a bit cruisier. So I did travel for 6 months with my old man. At the end of that trip, I met my now partner, Cal, up in Cape York. And she was from America. And I think we sort of went, oh, hang on, America, Australia, how's this going to work? And it had to work for me to visit her. So lucky again, my team just took a lot of extra workload on. And 1 year I know I did, including both Christmases, sorry, not including both Christmases. So one year, five trips to America. It was hectic. So to really get to know Cal's family, which was awesome. And I've got to spend a lot of time with them. Then obviously COVID put a big stop on that. But yeah, I did one trip, Joel. I did 3 days to keep the business. Like I just did 3 days flying to America, see Cal. She was in between a bit of work schedule, fly back out. So it wasn't easy. And I think that was 2019. Yeah. I honestly reckon every time I wasn't away in America, it was just continuous work, Saturdays and Sundays, you know. It's just how you back it up. And sometimes people sort of go, oh, how did you get so much time? They don't see those after hours, do they, and stuff. And I like to say that I usually am probably a bit more nocturnal than I am good in the mornings. And that I think sometimes helps because I'll just back up big late hours and things, trying to do less of it now to try and get a bit more of a work-life balance. But yeah, there were some cool times to get to travel that much. But also,
what part of America is she from? So I've got a fair few.
Colorado. So I think I chose the best one, Joel. Yeah,
we've got a listener in Colorado.
There you go. Awesome. Well, I hope maybe to get to meet him, he should reach out if you're listening on. You should reach out if you're in the landscaping industry. Yeah, so back over there myself again this August. I only got to do Christmas and stuff again. But yeah, Colorado, what a beautiful place. All the mountains. I've got to do Telluride. I've got to do Aspen, all those areas because our family's right into the mountains. I think that's been a big part of my inspiration, you know, like seeing all that and travel. So my website girl, Rochelle, said, I want to push that onto your website. We created it 2 or 3 years ago. It's nearly due for an update. She said, I really want people to know how traveled you are because I think it can help. And I actually look at that in sometimes employees now, Joel. I think sort of well-traveled younger guys, I think, just have a bit more on their shoulders for life knowledge. And yeah, that 6 months I did around Australia was bloody amazing. We saw so much of Australia's outback, so many different climates, some super rural places, you know, that you know, 12 hours away from the nearest big town or more, or normal town, I should say, not in big town, all the top end of Australia. So the Kimleys was the big highlight for me. And that was my big inspiration and what I sort of pushed a bit of my natural stuff towards, I think.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's awesome to get to do that, especially with your old man as well.
Oh, yeah. Great memory. Yeah.
So how many staff you got at the moment?
So at the moment, there is 10 of us, including myself. So there's 9 staff. Yeah, so I had my sister actually, who's sort of come out of a business management course and equestrian course as well, started about 1.5 years ago in bookkeeping. And that was the best investment I ever made, thanks to Danielle. Yeah, got a good relationship out of it too. I think we butted heads a little bit earlier on than that. But yeah, she's been a really good part of it. All the guys compliment how much help she can be with all the bookwork side of things, which is great. I think it's at a good number now where we've got a few good young guns coming through. Like I said, school-based, which is cool to give them the opportunity like I was given when I was younger. Good group.
So how did you build up to that many? Like just gradually, I assume, but was it?
Gradually, yeah. So I reckon probably my biggest growth point was probably just, again, coming out of that first year of COVID. I think obviously we had so many bits of doubt, any business owner. And I think as I started to commit to things, because I was so nervous about what was going to happen again, I probably definitely overcommitted. And then I wanted to back up to what I committed to. So I had a little bit of a rapid growth point there of probably adding about 3 onto the team when I had 3. So that was, I'm going to say, late 2020. I had sort of between 3 to 4 guys, one sort of full-time subcontractor. And then, all of a sudden it was branched into quick 6. Then came 7 sort of throughout, I guess. I'm just trying to think, 2020. So 2021, I should say, I guess, late 2020, we're at 6. By the end of that year, we had 7. And then sort of through last year, we just added another team member. And then right at the end of last year, the 2 school-based apprentices knew the sort of demand and work we're going to have. Some parts of it, I lost a few on the way that I think maybe, it was a bit of rapid growth. Wasn't feeling like I was losing too much on the quality because I do big days. I do make sure I'm pretty strong on what I am and a lot of site time, which probably means my office work falls behind a bit too much. But I had all of a sudden, a lot of good team. I was lucky to sort of basically snag a really few good crew I'd worked with throughout the years. And some seriously passionate foremen, Joel. I managed to take about 6 weeks off last year again to convince Cal a bit more about Australia. Went over to Western Australia in between lockdowns, super lucky. And all my 3 foremans ran everything solidly. I had, jobs set up, but to 2 times a week we'd do a meeting on the phone, updates every now and then, have a bit of, obviously, maybe once every 2 weeks, have some solid office time, sit down somewhere in the middle of nowhere. But yeah, super lucky and thankful, my guys. And again, I don't know if it is a bit of the age thing. I just feel like there's a bit more of a close connection for me with them because we're all similar age, and they can maybe see how much effort I put in sometimes, and maybe the stress that, you know, does make us get grey hair or close to grey hair. So sitting at 10 now, I think future, if I'm going to do anything, it'll just be seeing sort of who develops and if they're going to stay on. But I don't think I want to grow above that. I think it's interesting listening to podcasts. I think a good size is around about that 6, which a lot of your guys you've talked about is what I've sort of found. But at the same time, I just find sometimes it's really hard to keep up with that big workload. You know, with the 10 of us, sometimes we can get into some jobs that are starting to get towards the end and really just smash it. Whereas, as you know, Joel, you got someone on annual leave every time, or someone might be sick or whatever's happening, or other things that happen on a little job of finishing up. With 6, I just feel like sometimes we're only left with 3 to 4 to smash the job out. And it can just be really hard because a lot of our projects end up quite large in square meterage because a lot of it stems from the machine work and the rock work and the bigger sites. You know, we're not in a lot of small backyards. So still finding that sweet spot in numbers, but loving listening to what everyone else is thinking. It's a cool learning curve on this podcast for sure.
Yeah, I reckon like there's obviously no perfect number, but being able to have more depends on, like, you've got good foremen who can run the jobs. So that helps you be able to have more. The same with Jaden Weatherly from Green Divisions. So they've got, you know, I think there's 2 directors and 1 good foreman, each running a crew. So you've got some top end talent looking after it, then you can have that many people because it's basically like little businesses within the business.
For sure.
Do you have any apps or systems that allows everything to run so smoothly?
So systems wise, which we're just basically in the next 2 weeks, funnily enough, etching out completely. We've done a lot of the sort of mixed groups, WhatsApp, Facebook messaging groups for job photos and updates, things like that. A little bit old school, and that's probably a little bit on me, just catching up after COVID, just trying to get things rolling completely. And to be honest, sometimes the catch up feels like it's never going to happen. We are feeling it now. I'm getting through the projects, but as you know, and everyone else knows in the industry right now, the delays on materials and things, and builders saying they're going to be finished at a certain point and don't get to because they've got delays too. Scheduling, who can do that well? If anyone can really properly schedule, I'll give them a medal and pay them to teach me for 6 months. Classic thing, one of the old bosses said, I think by Monday morning, Shaun, at 9 a.m, sometimes the schedule can be completely out the window. And I think that's a classic one. So now we're going into Crew Tracker, which I'm really happy with what I've learnt from, did a Zoom with Matt only just recently, been slowly etching into it over the past few months, setting it up myself. And funnily enough, just finished a meeting with the guys a bit on that Crew Tracker. So I'm hoping that I'm seeing a lot of people post asking about what softwares people use. So I'm hoping that is a big winning software. It feels like everything can be on there, from PDFs of plans all the way through, obviously, timesheets, job notes, general business message group, photos of receipts, all the things that makes it hard, and you're using a bunch of different apps. Like we had WhatsApp for timesheets, we had Messenger, some texts, some email groups for the clients, and the email's already so busy with other things. So I'm really hoping Crew Tracker does, which it looks like it's lined up perfectly for that, having everything.
Nice.
Yeah. Do you have any software? Oh, you got it.
I don't use anything. I'll use Trello, which is not bad. Like, you can put the design on there.
That's good.
And a checklist. So, we need half a metre crush rock tomorrow, so you can put that in.
That's good. See, which I've never had. It's more been that text or on the group message, And again, I'm not doing that too much, but as you know, because my foremans will run most of those things, I'm very lucky. I've got 2 great foremans now that are super committed to the business, which I'm super, super thankful for. But yeah, Crew Tracker, I hope it takes a bit more of it. These are one of those things, it's just another business cost too, Like, as you know, there's so many different things you can do to look like super professional and super wow. But then at the end of the day, when you take out all those costs, sometimes what is it in there for the business, and myself for all the hours that I do. So it's interesting in finding that balance now around, like I said, that number 10 or number 9, I should say, seeing what works, because all these subscriptions and all these, new tools we've got to have to keep up with the industry. It's not cheap. The model
Yeah, I was looking at the Build Exact when Jaden mentioned it, and that's about like I think the top one is about $3,000 a year. So what's Crew Tracker?
Crew Tracker, the one I'm on, is up to I think 12 people on it with 2 managers, and I think that's. I hope I'm not saying this wrong, but I think it was $149 a month. So what are we talking?
1,800. Yeah.
Yeah, near $2,000. Yeah. So yeah, bit of money, but I guess for me, looking at what Danielle was putting in the bookkeeping side of things for the business and correlating across to those spreadsheets and things, Crew Tracker communicates with Xero. I use Xero. It puts everything all into straight away into a cost sheet, including materials that get sent across. Danielle has to tick them off. I have to approve them too. But it's going to drag all the boys' hours straight across. We do about 50% of our work is cost plus jobs that clients want to develop as we go and save on that sort of overall risk fee that I do put into a quote. Sometimes people do that. Got a bit away from the cost plus now after COVID because I'm just frustrated at how quickly things increase. Rather cover it early, have that hard argument with the supplier rather than let's put it onto the client and it just adds up quickly. So. But yeah, Build Exact, different options out there. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you had any business mentors or anything along the way?
Well, yeah, definitely my mum. Dad's been a sort of one-man band over the years. Mum's just come out of a family business. Her and her brother and her sister, they sold up that had about 100 plus staff. So she's obviously seen some pretty serious ups and downs. So that was super cool to sort of, I guess, probably grow up. Most family dinners were business dinners, talking stuff. No bullshit, just sort of mum probably maybe talking a bit about day and whatever. And yeah, Dad, if anyone that knows my old man, loves a bit of a chat about his earth moving and his industry. Sometimes you can't shut him up. But yeah, and then the biggest one probably past that would be Ez from Nature's Best Landscapes. So I ask him a lot of questions and he's super time giving and stuff to me amongst running his business and busy times. He's one of the busiest blokes you'll meet on earth, that bloke. I swear to God, he runs around like a headless chook, gets a lot done in for a day. But I've been lucky with that. And I think I just ask a lot of questions, Joel. You know, like there's people like we're doing Boss Aluminium, the tray building and sort of full camping building company at the moment. We don't do commercial. We're doing his front display. Dave would be a great example. Asking a lot of questions over time. He's got a big growing business. I just like to hear and ask questions and how people do things, you know? So yeah, a bunch of different people over time. So.
And I saw you got tagged in a post. I think it might have been Ashley James Gardens or Dan Foreman did it. There was a bunch of you, like in Charlton Landscapes, were in there as well, all catching up for like a palmy lunch kind of thing. A bunch of landscapers. So, how did that all start?
That all started really just all the boys reaching out and talking about sort of, some of them were talking about doing coffee, some of them were talking about doing beer. Yeah, all of a sudden we were all there. We had, going off business names, we had, Charlton, we had Ashley James Gardens, we had a few of the other new boys I hadn't met, we had Bespoke, we had, I'm going to miss a few. We had Dan Foreman as well. Dan's a legend. Dan's always been, I think, a big fan of everyone's work on Instagram. I thought I used to be the lucky one. And then all of a sudden I started to realize that everyone's got a good relationship with Dan, and he is one of the nicest blokes I've ever met. Yeah. So it was cool to see that he's going along. I thought, it's good. And it was funny. It was almost like, it was like a no bullshit big day out with a bunch of landscapers that maybe sometimes there might be a bit of shoulder throwing, but I think it was just a small, humble group. Everyone was sort of just keen to just blab a bit on about some funny client stories. Also, you know, what do we think of our trucks that we might have? Some of us thinking about buying it. It was, I love what Landscape Victoria does. It's almost just a smaller version that we want to do more regularly of that.
Yep.
I'm feeling like I think I messaged you. I missed out on the Landscape Victoria night the other night, which was great. They threw that. I think we need more of them about our industry, especially in these times, on how to do things. So it was kind of like a smaller version of that. Some really good answers and some talking through stuff, like Ashley James doing more design stuff now, so hearing what he's getting from people. Yeah, that was a really good little catch up. I'm glad we did that, and I want to do more of that. And something that was brought up at the end, I can't remember who said it, but it was just like, reach out. You know, mental health super important, guys. I'm all for it. Please reach out. And I think that's massive, like, to know that other business owners, you know, we can all just say, hey, I need a coffee tomorrow morning. Sometimes I think it's a bit of a bitch sometimes, just to sort of say, I'm feeling this, feeling that, as you know, especially in our industry. So yeah, that was good. Hopefully do more of that, and hopefully encourages more other circles like local guys to do it, because at the end of the day, it was 2.5 hours out of our afternoon. It was one of those classic days. I had all my shelving getting delivered at the same time to my factory. I had 500 plants show up on a job we were finishing, and a meeting that was running late, and just going, oh, there's never time for this, but I just had to make it work, and I'm so glad I did and didn't cancel out of it because I got a lot out of it.
Yeah, so, it's so easy just to say no to those type of things as well and say I'm too busy, haven't got time. But yeah, it's the same when I catch up with my mates. Like, there's never a good time for it. But after I've done it, man, that was just the best thing, because like that's why they're my mates. They're exactly awesome to hang around. Yeah, time. And something Cal, my partner, says a lot. She says, Shaun, there's always 1 million things for you to do, always. You just have to pull yourself out of that and give yourself your life sometimes, which I think I've been like, obviously, by now, sort of my age, I've just been going pretty ham on things and stuff. And as much as I've got, like I said, those holidays and those times, and I know a few mates, maybe if they're listening to this, will be laughing, I've really backed it up in other moments to be able to do that. It's been worth it. I reckon if anyone can do that, and you can handle the longer hours and stuff, I reckon it's worth every cent to get those trips, because they've been life memories and things that I've created. Obviously now, like there's things like a house and stuff around that changes life. I can't holiday anywhere as much. You've got a mortgage. I think that's probably, the best bit of it all is the hard work, which is sort of, giving us the higher space. But now, a bit more knuckling in to sort of see what the next few years bring. So, at that Landscape Victoria night that you missed, they did talk about there was 4 elements I was speaking about, and one of them was about looking after your mental health as well as that of your staff. Is there anything you do for yours particularly?
Yeah, look, for my mental health personally, I did a great little program, and I'm not going to remember it for some reason. Unfortunately, it ended. It was a bit of a COVID come about from a friend of Cal's. Which was a 27-day program where we were focused on a bit of meditation, and my boys were laughing at me, but good eating, drinking only on the weekends. It was when we were all in full lockdown. I mean, how many of us were probably cracking a beer every night or wine or something? That was something I found a lot of good help out of, and a good balance. The other one is the Resilience Project. Years ago, before Mum sold up in the company, got to, luckily enough, do a direct day with only 20 of us in a room, and Hugh and his team, the Resilience Project. Swear by there, writing down 3 positives and 1 negative for the day. Don't do it enough still. Need to practice more myself. But I think some of those little things, the meditation, like in the morning for me, just zeroing out when I do get to do it, I think it just clears the head, because as you know, your head can always be full. And then, every now and then it'll be like a dinner with friends, or Cal and I will sit down for dinner and say, oh, tell me 3 positives of your day and 1 negative. And I think something the Resilience Project push a lot is everyone just thinks about the negatives of the day. And I think as a business owner, we can do that a lot when a few things go wrong. Reminding myself that, just going, actually, no, we got a lot done today still. And there's a few things made. It's a rain day today. I mean, the rain's just killed me today. 2 jobs closed completely for the next day or so with how muddy they're going to be and things. But, we're working on building a bit of team strategy in the factory and building a new tool trailer. And there's a lot of positives to talk about there. And I've got some more office work done, which is something I don't come by too often. Yeah. So, doing that. I do want to do more with my boys, though, because I don't think sometimes some of them realize how much they still go through and how much they need. Again, I've just been lucky enough to be in a circle that people talk about it. So I've done a bit around it. So,
I was listening to one of the Landscape Victoria podcasts. It was Shaun from Bayonne Gardens. And I think his wife is some sort of yoga teacher or something similar to that. And he had her come in and gets the guys doing that every now and then, which is it's a form of meditation as well. Just sort of moving and breathing.
Yeah, as you say that, Joel, that's something I probably should have talked about. Is my partner Cal is a Pilates instructor, and actually that's something. Last few months things have been a little bit crazy with just finishing. To be honest, we ended up finishing 4 jobs in one day. 4 jobs. The average time frame was 3.5 to 4 months. I don't know how they ended up being all on the same day, but excuse my French, it was hectic. And that was, so we've had a crazy few months, but one of the things I was doing big before that was Pilates 2 or 3 times a week. Old Gun Concrete, one of the best concreters, used to own Concrete Works in southeastern suburbs, said to me one time, Shaun, you're going to laugh at me, but I'm doing Pilates now to help my knees. He said, I've never felt better. My back's amazing. And my mental health. And I said, oh, yeah. Years go down the track, Cal becomes a certified Pilates instructor, and I would like to do that with my guys. If I can convince them to all do it is another thing. Pilates in the factory would be quite funny. But yeah, the reformers, Pilates, I don't know, any landscapers listening out there, I reckon they are better than any tool you own. They like just completely stretch you out. And yeah, I think whether it's sitting in the office a bit hunched over or whether it's machines or, as you know, hanging off a wheelbarrow, shovel, all the other tools we use, I've never felt better in my back from Pilates. So that's an actual good mental health and physical health one, I reckon, Joel. Yeah.
Yeah. My wife and I used to own one of those reform Pilates machines as well, and we got rid of it, which is disappointing because I'd be
no.
now because
we've been talking about same one. Yeah.
I need to do something with my knees as well, because they're on the cold mornings they're a bit stiff, and it's just getting older. You need to actually take time to look after your body, because once it breaks down, that's just about it.
Yeah, no, not that my old man actually preaches about what he says, but he says, your body is your tool. And I mean, he hops along like he's missing a leg almost, the way he hops out of something. He's never taken care of his body, but he's right. Like, we actually, our futures are our bodies. And I think that's something that the industry needs to push a bit more. I think I'll look at again. Yeah, Ez, Nature's Best Landscapes. He's had a few good motorbike industries over the years, but he definitely had hard early years on the tools and stuff. And at 40, I think he's 46 this month. I know 47. His body's just trash, and he's he's not that old. And it's a big claiming aspect on your body, on the tools and all those things. Obviously, like a boss like Ez, someone like yourself, I think, Joel, you look like you're very hands-on too. I love that, and I'm the same. It definitely wear and tear. So I think if I can try and implement a bit of stuff in my business would be good, like a bit of that Pilates stuff. Again, like I said, trying to get the guys to actually do it. I think hopefully it helps. The strengthening I've felt around my back and stuff, in just the muscles in my back, will help with, maybe ensuring guys don't get injured, which again could either throw them out of the industry forever or just make them not be able to commit too much to work with on and off. So I think stuff like that, teaching industry awareness on how hard it is, I think will maybe make people understand too, again, why I think some of us should be worth some of the dollars we're worth, including sometimes employees, if I may say that, because it is their body that they're taxed on for the rest of their life. So maybe a lot of bosses are going to hate that I've said that, but I do think their bodies cop it, and I don't want to use them as an item. So
I don't think anyone who's worth their salt is going to complain about looking after employees.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you get better performance anyway, as you know, Joel. So
exactly, yeah. Because like I had one of my guys was off for a week because he had a bad back. Like he's nearly 6'5" or something, so that's more likely to happen with someone his size doing landscaping. But still, there's something. Like he probably doesn't do anything out of the ordinary to help it. So be proactive.
To help it, nah. And I mean, even just like because of Cal doing the Pilates stuff, just showing a couple of apprentices there, and then sort of said, "Oh, I got the sore back, Shaun." Showing them a few simple stretches of rolling your back down a wall and stretching out, like it's helped little things. And they're sort of like, "Oh, I've never stretched my back or my hammies." I'm like, "But you play footy, 2 nights. So you train for footy 2 nights a week and play footy." "Oh yeah, I just never cared about it." And you're like, "What?" Like stuff that we have to do, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with the design, what sort of percentage are you doing design compared to construction yourself?
I'm lucky enough to have a guy that works in with me that, basically draws in with myself. So I sort of put my ideas across to him. He'll put them to paper. I think it's a really good way of working it. He enjoys it because it cuts out it's like almost like a trade dealing for him, So he does a lot of his own full designs, but then, I don't know, it might be 20% or 10% of his work is my stuff. It might even be less. I'm just putting a bit of a guess out there, but he likes it because I sort of meet with him, this, and this, and then he gets to meet with the clients. We have a bit more talking around, just like there's the landscaper there as well. I then do like my percentage, but also my management fee in there, and I'm really involved in it. And I like to sort of around about that either first or second meeting on either concept or second concept. If the first one sort of changed a bit, give the clients a bit of a budget on where we're at, which is, so percentage wise, I'm going to say probably I can only about sort of 3 to 5% of the year I'm doing design works, whether it's like, engaging with the client, sort of almost the pricing side of it, but it's in part of that design scope.
Yep.
All the rest of it sort of being on construction and plant outs and things on full jobs. But game changer for me. I don't want to cut any designers out of their work and stuff because I want everyone to be able to work together. I think it's great to see what the designers have out there, but yeah, like I said, to have that sort of personal involvement in the overall look gives us, I think, a bit of our name in what we do in look wise. Sort of a lot of people have said it to me, I know, like, we like your look. And it's cool because I've sort of not just gone in and tried to sort of do it with the design off a computer rush to be like really get Rob to draw it professionally and it's presented professionally. It's a really good part of us winning work, I think. So yeah.
It's working. It looks like your work looks amazing, and you can see
Thanks,
that consistency in it as well. So, I think you're doing an amazing job, and to be doing it at your age just blows me away. So, well done on that, and thank you very much for coming on.
Thanks, Joel. I really appreciate it. It's great to have been on. Thanks again. Cheers.